Hello, welcome to Sunday Salon. I am Dana Dubois from I Write Out Loud, and this is my first ever Sunday Salon. I hope folks will show up and be here, and I'm going to give everyone a few minutes to join. Hi, Linnea. It is good to see you here. While we wait for folks to join, hi, Joan. And hi, Tariq. It's so nice to see you all joining. It's time for my sponsorship from Nature Naws, who are not actually my sponsors, but we have one very friendly little beast right here. I know. She says, I'm ready for my treat. I have to warn you all that I'm a little bit sick today. Here you go. Kira says, yes, I will take that treat. Hi, everyone. I expect this will be an intimate gathering because I think, as you all know, this is a paid subscriber benefit. So it will only be available for paid subscribers. And I believe it's paid subscribers for for the Daily Whatever Show or I Write Out Loud, but I'm not sure. Maybe if you can verify which one you're a paid subscriber to, I can know that for a fact. But I believe that that's how Substack works. When I set it up, I didn't ask paid subscriber to what, it just said paid subscriber. So you are all welcome here. And I'm really excited for today. And I have to admit, like, a little nervous. And of course, right now, my dog is like, I'm ready to go outside now. But I'm going to have to ignore her for the next hour. And hopefully that will be okay. Hi, Jason. Good to see you here. Are you back from your cruise? We'll wait to see if Jason answers that one. I probably caught him off guard without his fingers on the keypad. So just to give a little context while we are waiting, I'm just going to give it till like 5 after for folks to join, and then I'm going to jump in. This is, I'm trying to decide if it's going to be this is the Sunday Salon or just Sunday Salon. I think no, the. So this is Sunday Salon. It is my quiet little corner on Sundays where we dive deeper into the essays from the week before and kind of get into a deeper discussion on the kind of what's going on behind the scenes, both from a cultural perspective and also from a I'll spill a little tea on an additional background that didn't quite make it into the essay. So I am very glad that you're all here today. Hi, Joan. And I think I will go in and get started. I'm a little nervous about my dog being a lunatic for this. Yeah, we're both not feeling our best today. She is getting over this beast right here. Managed to get hookworm. I don't know what she ate, but she's been on meds for it this week. And I have a bit of a cold. Hi, Nikki. Hi, Amanda. Hi, John. Oh my gosh, John, you are my newest paid subscriber. It just happened. And thank you so much. Thank you so much to all of you for being here. I wanted to start off the Sunday Salon just by saying that if you are here, then you are financially supporting my work. And it's still crazy to me that people do that. Like I can't even tell you how much it means to me. So thank you. Thank you. I hope that this gathering ends up becoming a nice community, a place where we get behind the memoir. Like, I feel like as I've been thinking about this I Write Out Loud project, that yes, I'm a memoirist, but what I really am is a connector of dots. And I think that the things I'm writing about that have happened to me have broader cultural implications most of the time. And that's why they resonate often with others. So I'm here today to connect some of those dots with all of you and also, to spill a little tea behind the scenes. So, speaking of tea, I have my tea here. I always do. But today it's necessary. You may hear me coughing a little bit. I have caught a bit of a cold, so I'm a little under the weather, but I think it will be all right. And before we get started, I'm going to close the window because I think that's one of the things that's like setting Kira off. So enjoy this view of my living room while I get up for just a moment. I'm just right here, but hi, I'm back. Hopefully that quiets her down. Oh yeah, she's eating her treat now, so hopefully she'll be quiet and let us talk. Um, what kind? I'm addicted to breakfast in Paris by Stash. That sounds delicious, Amanda. Is that a black tea? Because if it is, I want to try that. This tea is it's PG Tips, which is a British just breakfast tea, and I buy it in bulk and have it at the house. And I have a little oat milk in it. And for just now, I added a little bit of this like vanilla protein collagen powder that's, probably doing nothing, but it does add a nice vanilla flavor. If nothing else, nutrition, blah, blah, blah. But the tea will hopefully keep my voice okay. PG Tips is good. I like Yorkshire Gold. I haven't tried that yet, Linnea, and I should. Hold on, I'm reading your comments here. I have some really good Earl Grey hot. Oh, I bet you do. I bet you do. Jason, your cruise sounds like it was amazing. I saw Nikki, you like Earl Grey with a hint of lavender? I used to love Earl Grey. That was my standard for many years. And then it did that thing where have you guys ever had this happen where a taste or a smell is suddenly it goes from, delicious and perfect to, wrong? And suddenly Earl Grey just tasted like perfume to me. I didn't like it anymore. I can now tolerate it if it's the only black tea in the house, but I mean, not my house, just somewhere where I am. But I don't love it. And it's weird because I did for so many years. I am here. That's chamomile for you. Yeah. I only want chamomile when I'm sick or have insomnia or something. Like herbal teas just don't do much for me. And neither do green teas tragically because they're so good for you, but I'm a black tea drinker for sure. Um, my daughter is a matcha drinker. I think it tastes like grass. It's a really pretty color, but it's not for me. Puka and oolongs are your favorites. Oh, I do like a good oolong, Nikki. Very good. Hold on, I'm gonna try to scroll and see this because on my phone, you've been out campaigning against doctors' orders. You have been out campaigning against your doctor's orders. I see. Wishing you the best of health, Nikki, and good for you for helping. I don't know what you're campaigning for, but I'm sure it's for a good cause, and I appreciate you and the work that you're doing. Um, and John loves mint tea when sick. Okay, maybe that's how we should start this show is what's in everybody's mugs. You may not all have mugs because I know it's 1:00 on the East Coast, but here it's still 10 a.m. So I'm sipping my tea. It should keep my voice okay. And I'm going to jump in and start talking about these stories. And I have some notes here on my monitor. I'm actually going to unplug it for a second because I can't quite get my podcasting set up right. Is the light better? Okay, I'm going to ask you guys. Here's one with the monitor off. Hold on. Wait for it. Wait for it. Oh, great. Oh, and there's two with the monitor on. I feel like the monitor is washing out my face. I welcome your feedback. I use it because I read over here and I'm a little bit blind. No, I'm not really blind, but it helps me to have it on here versus the little screens. But I'm feeling like maybe I need to unplug this monitor. It looks the same to you? Okay, let's try it one more time. Monitor off, and it looks the same. Yeah, there's one. This is the monitor on. Bright, right? That's monitor 2. Is that better? Or monitor off, not monitor 2. Um, I think I can leave the monitor off and just look at my laptop down here. I may just be looking down a bit. But I have some notes here. Let's go ahead and get started because I think it's time to do that. We're about 10 minutes after the hour. And thank you for joining me for Sunday Salon. Thank you for supporting my work. I can't even express fully how much it means to me to have you here and to have you showing up and reading and listening. It's like all the hearts. I appreciate you all so, so much. And with that, I'm going to jump in and I will say I would like this to be a conversation as much as it can be after things get going. And I'm realizing in order to do that, I'm going to have to plug back in because I can only see one message at a time here. And I'm going to be like this looking at my laptop otherwise. So I will be slightly washed out, but happy to be reading all of your comments since you're all saying it's pretty subtle. The light on makes it harder to see your eyes. I know it's the glasses, and they're kind of smudgy because I need to get new ones. If I could take them off and just squint a little bit, but I feel like I look weird without glasses, right? Like I'm so used to them that it's like, yeah, it's like missing a limb or something. It just feels weird. So I think a lot of you know this. The stories from last week were, close these windows, um, calling them my first date trilogy of stories. And um, they outline three first dates that I went on when re-entering the world of dating, right? They So the key themes around here for elevating it, this is about reentry, it's about regulation, and it's the subtext is a bit around keeper dynamics. When is there someone worth keeping? Um, but that's not in the overt text because there was no one worth keeping in these essays. I'm not going to put the links in the chat. I think you all have probably read at least one of these essays or heard me talking about them. But if you want to see them, they're on the homepage of Dana Dubois Writes right at the top right now because they're the three most recent essays. And just to frame this, these stories were all written, well, the dates all happened in December 2023 and January 2024, and then they were written shortly after. So by the end of January, all three were written. And there, when I wrote them, I was documenting dates. It's been really interesting in hindsight to see these stories I've written come to life in order, especially with what I know about the context of my life and how things have been since then. And so these are really about recalibration after a 6-year relationship ended. And um, they are part of a bigger arc that will finish in this coming week. That I'm realizing that me being me, I'm probably going to have these themes that are chunked that I will be writing out loud about and then talking out loud about because I'm probably going to be posting stories that go together, whether they were sequential or not. This one is definitely sequential. It opened with I had a little our relationship, which documents the end of the multi-year relationship that I was in. Then it goes into two stories about a man I met through online dating. The first man I met, I never actually met, but sort of fell for this guy hard. And I know I've spoken about this already, and y'all have probably heard this, but it's important in the roundup to say I went from being in this great state of equilibrium as that relationship ended, and it was the right thing to do, and I felt really good about it, to being completely thrown off my guard into disequilibrium by this beautiful man in Canada who I never met, who worked my heart up pretty hard and then just poof, disappeared. I wish I could say it's the last time that's happened. It's not. But right after that, like immediately after that, I was like, it's time to really start dating in person now. Clearly, that's what I should be doing. And I jumped in and this, well, another theme about these three essays is pursuit, because I came to realize that a lot of the relationships I ended up being in were with men um, who had pursued me because they got to do the choosing. And when I didn't have big, I'm going to pursue energy. And well, at least then that had been the case in the very long relationship I'd been in. So I was like, I'm really good at this. I'm a very assertive person. I'm going to put that kind of energy into my dating life. And so I pursued these three dates. And I didn't realize that again as I wrote it. But looking back, I'm like, oh, look at me go pursuing these men. And so it was a nervous system hit to know that I'd done the pursuing, that they hadn't pursued me. That does kind of put oneself out in the lead in a way that's a little uncomfortable for me. And then each of these three essays are uncomfortable in their own way and for very different reasons. And I'm looking over here because I have my notes over here, so apologies. I'm pretty good at extemporaneously speaking, but this salon, I really want to be thoughtful, so I've made myself some notes. Um, So as I look back on these, another theme that's coming up is only with the wisdom of a couple years is like dating as data. Dating should not solely be driven by like chemistry and spark. Excuse me. Dating needs to be driven by data points. These are strangers to me. And to simply be like, is there a spark or not, is not a good indicator of if someone is good to be in relationship with. That said, I'm a very fiery person, and there does also need to be fire, at least for me, um, like to want to pursue anything more than a friendship. But you'll see on these dates, if you read these essays, that I was leaning very hard into like, am I attracted to this person? Is this person attracted to me? Is there chemistry? Is there a spark? And what's missing is, are these could these be good partners? And um, I have a note here of like core thesis. The real question isn't, is this man right for me? It's, am I regulated and am I acting like my best self in this dynamic? And looking back at all three dates, the answer was clearly no, right? Um, so that's the overview, and I'm going to pause and come over here to the comments just to see if you all are weighing in, because I want to make sure I'm keeping this a conversation as much as I can, not just talking and then coming back at the very end. Let's see here. Um, Her eyeshadow is perfect. Are you talking to me? I'm really bad at makeup. So if you're talking to me, that's very sweet of you. I made you have the feels for him, Nikki says. Well, good. I don't know which him that is. You'll have to tell me if it was date 1, 2, or 3, or if it was the Canadian guy. But either way, I'm guessing it's the Canadian guy because I don't feel like I gave the feels for most of the other dates. And Amanda says that spark can be a brat. It can. And that all has to do with nervous system deregulation. And what I've really been mulling in my head as I've been contemplating these essays and the aftermath, which will be I Write Out Loud this week, is it's an almost impossible task that going on a date, you are both trying to figure out if you have chemistry and a spark, which by nature should be a bit destabilizing, right? You're like hyper elevated. And you're also trying to figure out if they make you feel grounded and in your best self, which is what leads to success in a long-term relationship. Um, I have explained this and described men I've been with in the past as saying, like, I want someone who feels like sexy and exciting to me, but who also feels like home. And I think that's the like down the road version of what that sensation is. But it takes time to develop that, right? On a first date, like, what are you assessing for? The burned haystack dating method would say you should only be looking for data points. You should have that like um, sexual energy part of you, that chemistry part of you just shut down, because otherwise you're going to make bad mistakes. Let that develop over time once you determine this is a good man. And I'm like 85 to 90% believing that. But a very strong part of me is like, if I don't feel it at the start, I never will, never fully. And so there has to be a spark there, but trying to determine it while also not tumbling over is, it's even after all these years, is a very tricky balance for me, and one that I failed at time and time again. You can see in these essays, but oh, wait till you see the essays coming up this week. So, um, these are the themes we'll be touching on. So I'm going to look at, I can see some more comments have come in. Spark versus data could also be presented as right brain versus left brain. You know, John, kind of. I agree. There's like a creative versus logical integration there. Um, Part of it to me would be more like brain, heart, body. How are those three parts of me responding to this man? Um, the problem comes when the heart and the body can go into overdrive if the man is like super sparky, right? And then the brain has a hard time overriding it because the heart and the body are really powerful. Data versus lore, I like that way of looking at it, Jason. Like the letdown from the drop on a roller coaster. Yes. And then sometimes it's like if the roller coaster just, like, smashed into the ground, like, you don't even get to get picked back up. Like, in the case of that man from Canada, he simply withdrew, yanked, and that happens sometimes, especially when there's all of this great, chemistry at the beginning. My experience has often been that there are men who are just good at creating chemistry. I don't know if you all think that too, but and maybe I can't speak for women because I don't date women, but, um, sometimes there is a natural chemical connection between me and a man, and in hindsight, I can sometimes see, "Oh, no, they know what they're doing. They know how to spark that," like the leaning in, the touching of hands and what they're saying, where there are other men who just don't, um, either don't know how to do that or don't choose to, especially if it's disingenuous. So that can be really hard to separate the, like, are we having a unique response, me and this man? Or is this man just really good at creating excitement and chemistry with women? And so what I'm experiencing that feels unique and sexy and alive to him is like, oh, it's just another date. I do this with all the women. I'd love to hear if you guys have had similar thoughts about men in the chat. Let's see here. Joan says, you really made me feel the anxiety that you went through. Thank you, I think. I'm sorry I made you feel anxious, but that is a really good compliment to a memoir writer that you felt like you were in there with me. Tarek says, the if I don't feel the spark right away, I never will, feels like so much pressure on you and him. It is. It is. And I guess when I say spark, I don't mean that I have to be 100% like, oh my God, I'm so in love with this guy on the first date. There just has to be an attraction that feels more than just friendship from the start, or it's really hard for that to grow. Like there has to be a little nugget of magic in there that could possibly grow, versus a like, oh, I see this as a kind man who is reasonably attractive and has other good qualities, and you're trying to talk yourself into it. Um, there are other people who feel other ways. The burn haystack dating method, Jenny Young will say, like, no, I think actually she would agree with that. That she's like, I think hers would be a little more to the side of like, as long as he's not a no, let it be a yes to proceed. And I would say, as long as he's not a hell no, like you have to feel at least that there's like a hope there that this would be someone you'd be attracted to. And I've tried like many times to be like, let's give a chance here. And I did it for 6 years. And it never quite, it's not the same. And I don't want to do that again. And I was especially aware of it in this era because that's the relationship I was coming from. Let me see here. Oh, hi, Eric. It's nice to see you here. And Sean says, I'm jealous of those men. You're jealous of the men who know how to create chemistry. It's a skill you could probably learn. I think that you're right. They are the players. Yes, they are those men. Um, Intellectually, there has to be a smart or a spark there. Yes, a spark and a smart. They have to be smart, and there has to be a spark there. So thank you for weighing in on those thoughts. So date number one. I'm going to go through one by one now and kind of deconstruct what's happening here and then sum it all up. Um, Attraction without hunger was kind of the dominating theme there. This man, I know I already said this before, but date number one and date number three were so good looking, you guys. Like two of the best looking men I've sat across from on dates, especially date number three. And they actually look kind of similar. Um, so I was excited to be on the date with him, and on paper, like, um, I think slightly younger than me, right around my age, like really snappy dresser, had a great job in a creative business field, was a father to younger than my kid's daughter, like lovely, like on paper, like this is the kind of man who I should be with, right? Um, but that even though he was so handsome and I sat and like just stared at his cheekbones for 2 hours and had a couple drinks, I was still like, I felt very detached from it. And um, I've been weighing, like, was this a post-breakup, like, emotional torpor? Because I did sort of have 2 relationships then, right? The really big, long one and then this virtual one. Um, I don't know. I think that it was even on that date, I could tell that he wasn't interested in me the way I wanted someone to be interested in me, and frankly, like, he didn't make any moves on me, he didn't try to kiss me. He did say, like, "Let's do this again," but, like, I was objectively attracted to him, but subjectively just unmoved by him, and looking back now in hindsight of who that guy was, I'm like, "Oh, I was responding to some real things that must have been there under the surface." So, um, like, for me, desire and aesthetics tend to be pretty well linked, but there has to like, I'm drawn to men who are I'm into men who are really into me is part of it, and I didn't get that sense from him. And when I spilled the tea, I'm gonna spill the tea on these dates at the end. So stay tuned, but, the follow-up will make it pretty clear what was actually happening with him. But I'm looking at each of these through the lens of, like, was this man a keeper? He probably was for somebody else, but, um, this this was not a man who was at a stage in life to be a serious romantic or sexual partner, certainly not an exclusive one. And I could sense that. And in hindsight, I know that for a fact. So that was date one. And so it's like, well, that wasn't me being broken. Like in the essay, I'm kind of like, why am I not responding? Like, I think it was me being protective and it was also me being perceptive, even if it wasn't overtly stated till in the weeks following the date. I kind of felt that that was what was going on. And honestly, the theme that keeps coming up through is like, and I pursued him. That also mattered. That it was like, well, he hasn't really come forward for me in any way, and he never did. So, um, excuse me. Sorry, it's the cold. So that was date number one, who we call Ace. Not his real name, but pretty close to it. Let me look at the comments, and then I'm going to move to date two. Conversation is important if you have nothing to discuss other than how's the weather. Oh yeah, of course. Um, yes, he had plenty to talk about. We had plenty in common. We had some mutual friends. It wasn't that it was boring from a conversational perspective, but it just it wasn't really quite there. I always look for kindness. Yes. I think that your attitude is really good. It shows a healthy sense of your worth. I'm talking about people who are into you. Right. Thank you. I think so too. And Eric is saying, as a guy, since I don't date guys, but I would think there needs to be some attraction that needs to be there for date two. Agreed. Date one, I think you could pass off as like nerves or we'll get into this later, I think. Or maybe we can talk about it now since these are all first dates. Unless the man is making it abundantly clear he's interested in me, I do tend to spend first dates, like, emotionally or, like, sexually, like, romantically way back here because I'm observing and I'm like, "I can't tell if this man is into me or if I'm never going to see him again." If I don't like him, it's fine. It's like, doesn't matter, but if I can't tell if he's into me, um, the whole date can go by and I can feel kind of nothing. But then if I find out he is into me, then yes, things move forward. Oh, my dog, you guys, she's being so problematic. Come with me. We're going to go let her out because otherwise, I'm worried we're going to have something to deal. I'm going to have something to deal with after. She really wants to go out front, but we don't. I'm not taking her out on the leash now. Come here, Kira. Let's go to the back door. Here we go. Into my messy kitchen. Can you see how sunny it is in Seattle? It's super duper nice out today. Kira! Okay. Well, here's hoping this does the trick. Sorry for the interruption, you guys. I'm just going to leave the back door open. Back door's open. Go out the back door. Come here. Come here. Come here. Look. You can go out the back door. You go out the back door. And there she goes. She does not want to do that, but hopefully this will suffice and I won't have to end early. Um, like she's being like, no, man, I don't want this to happen out here. This is our home. But Anyways, let's clip back in and we'll keep going. Okay, all set. There we go. Okay, I'm going to read the comments I missed while I was gone. Eric says, and the conversation has to be intellectually stimulating. Yes, no dummies. Nobody got time to date dummies. Sorry, that sounds very ableist. I shouldn't say that. Though here's something I will say. When it comes to your body and dating and all of that, like, you are allowed to not be inclusive. In fact, it's a requirement not to be inclusive. Not that you should challenge biases. You should, especially if you are dating only like classic what's attractive dating norms. But at the end of the day, your preferences are your own and you're allowed to have them. That's something I wrote an essay about my kids that we'll get to one of these days. Okay, I'm going to give you one word. You all, why did I get a dog? I love her so much, but she's such a pain in the ass. Okay, do you want another one of these? Okay, good dog. So, I'm going to scroll down here and read this. I've been lucky enough to only have a few people who think Substack is a dating site app or to hit on people. That's funny. Yeah, same. I've had far more people tell me I just am an ugly bitch who nobody would ever want to fuck. I did find a comment like that, like from months ago that I had missed last night when I was looking at something and I was like, oh, look at that charming guy. He also, oh boy, did he have some objectionable comments on his profile. I almost highlighted it and then I was like, he has like 4 followers and is probably a bot. Don't up-level this guy. But mm, John says, if you want to meet men who are already into you, then you should just meet men who are already on your Substack channel. They are pre-sifted and all over the world, John, all over the world. Um, that would be a funny idea. And Joan is asking if it's cold. It is. It's beautiful and sunny, but chilly. It's probably about 50 degrees. Hold on, we can look this up. Seattle weather. We're talking about the weather, you guys. It's like a bad date. So it's really nice out, isn't it? Yeah, I love these bright, almost springtime days. It's 46 degrees, so it is chilly, but it's super sunny. So we'll count that as warm in Seattle for March 1st. Happy March, by the way, everybody. Rabbit, rabbit, and all that. Okay, so let's jump back into date number 2. So this is a man I had not met or seen in real life. He was on a dating app, and he was the one who I was like, he seems the most interesting to me. I wrote him, and he kind of wrote back, but not a ton. And so I had to kind of get in front of him and say, I'd like to meet you. Do you want to go get a drink? And then he did take the lead. He picked the place and a time, and he picked a place near where I live, which was really nice and all those things. So we meet up. I called him Hank, which is actually funny for reasons I'll disclose later. Um, I just realized now, but we went on a date at uh, it's like a bar / dog run. He brought his dog. I brought my dog. I thought that was really sweet. It was freezing cold that night, though. Like, we were bundled up, and they only served beer and cider. And I loathe beer, and I barely tolerate cider. And they said they had hot cider, and I was thinking it would be like hot apple cider. So I ordered one, but it was like the carbonated cider that they heated. It was so gross. So I just held it for warmth. Um, and like, he was a sweet guy, but again, like, truly, I like very little spark or none really. And I was like, I would objectively go on a date with this guy again, but I don't think he's into me. And I just couldn't tell. Like, I find it really, like, emotionally draining to date in general. But that feeling of I'm sitting across from you, we're having a good conversation, you're, good looking enough. This could be fine. It could be good, but I don't know if I'm ever going to see you again, or if we're just both sitting here going, well, I'm never going to see this person again. And I find that so, at this stage, it's just happened so many times that it exhausts me, I think. And so, um, I'm looking here at some notes. Yeah, you cannot reason yourself into a spark is one of my notes. And as I'm talking about this, though, I'm like, he just seemed profoundly not into me, and I think that was more of it. Um, I wrote to him after the date to thank him, and and he wrote back just sort of a like, okay, great, but then I never heard from him again. So, but I do think that date also ended with like, we should do this again sometime, which can be a blow off, but. That date was kind of the least significant of the two, though in the tea section, I have a funny update on this date as well. Let me come back to the notes and see what y'all are saying. You like mead, and it's not for me, but they didn't have mead, even if it had been. Hot carbonated cider sounds awful. It was pretty gross. So to skip onward to date 3, this was the one that was the most kind of the most heated for me because I'd had a crush on this guy at that point for like 10 months. And I had met him 10 months before. It wasn't like I saw him in the interim, but as I describe, I met him at an event. We were seated at the same table, and he was so good looking. Like I was like, I can't even look directly at you. It's like an eclipse. I have to like wear those special glasses. Otherwise, you blind me with your beauty. And he was he just seemed very kind and cool and smart and creative. And oh my God, I was like, there's no way. I thought he was a lot younger than he was too, because he was very good looking. He just had a youthful look about him. So I was like, oh, he's probably not single, probably not straight, probably not age appropriate, and definitely not into me, I don't think. But at the end of the night, the whole table exchanged phone numbers because we were all new to each other and we had a great time. And we were like, well, we should do this again, which we never did. But I had his number. And so I texted him and said, what was the name of your book? I wanna read it. And he thanked me and, told me that wrote back with the name of his book, which I ordered and received. And then I took the cutest photo I could of me with the book and sent it to him. And he was like, great, Dana, thanks, really enthusiastically. But um, I figured that was a wide enough door that if there had been some interest and availability, that he would have walked through it, right? Like that's kind of clear. I'm flirting with him in my dope, derpy way, I think. So I was like, whatever. The book sat on my nightstand like all the other books I don't read because I don't make time for reading at this phase of my life, unfortunately. But then the friend who I'd gone to the event with was single at the time and was on Bumble and saw his profile and sent it to me and was like, Dana, look who's single. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I finished the book. It was a pretty short book, luckily. And then I messaged him months later and was like, I finally finished your book. It was wonderful. I loved your protagonist. I have a lot of questions. And he was like, we should get together and talk about my book. And I was like, jaw on the ground, picking my jaw up. And so I had to nudge him a few times, like, oh, hey, when do you want to get together? And I was kind of like, do you want to meet for coffee? Do you want to meet for a drink? And he was like, why don't we get dinner and drinks? And I was like, oh my God, that's like a date. And he lives kind of far away, but he offered to come to me to my neighborhood, asked me to pick a place since he wasn't familiar. And I did. And he came and he met me for dinner. And I was so giddy and excited for this date. And I got there and I was so nervous that I was like, I can't eat a thing. But we were having drinks, and so I think I had 2 cocktails, or it might have been 3. I think it was 2, but they were strong, and I wasn't eating, and I think I was so nervous that, like, all I did was talk, 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 or it felt that way. I apologized, like, "I think I'm talking too much," and he was like, "No, no, you're great." But it was a 4-hour date, and the whole time, it was this idea of what did I call it? Performance versus presence. Like, I think I was so nervous about, coming off as smart and interesting, and I was so trying to read if he thought I was cute or not. Was it a date or not, or were we just meeting to talk about his book? Um, I was uncomfortable in the pursuer role, and I couldn't get a read on him. And, I had just it was coming off of this, like, leaving a relationship, having my heart smashed, and then these 2 dates who didn't want me, right? So I felt very undesirable. I think that was part of it, and that's not in the essay, but in hindsight, that energy was definitely sitting next to me on this date, and, like, lifelong, I I know I'm a lot, and the idea I when I'm at my worst self, I think I am too much. And in this date, I was like, "You were too much, Dana. You flooded the zone. You were overwhelming." And so, yeah, the note I have here is I wrote down, "My third date exposed my insecurity, not his failure. And when I feel like I'm too much, I need to check in with my nervous system," which I didn't do because I couldn't, because I was just trying to be present and be the interesting, amazing, "Don't you wanna date me?" human I wanted to be to him, that I was not. And so, um, the keeper lens here, if this had been someone worth keeping, like, uh, the keeper energy I would have needed here was when was a, like, "You're not too much," like, "I love your stories." And he might have even said, like, something along those lines, but I don't think he meant it. Um it definitely had this audition energy that did not feel grounded or particularly safe. Not unsafe like I was in danger, but unsafe, just emotionally unsafe of like, and I really, really, really liked this one. I wanted to go out with him again and did not. He walked me in my car. He weirdly did some things that I see as like big relationship energy. Like but before I even got home and we were close to my house, he had texted me like, "Did you get home okay?" In hindsight, he might have been like, "She was kinda drunk." Probably shouldn't have driven, but it was right by my house. I could have, like, slept walk home. Um, so I'll talk more in the T section of kind of what the follow-up on that was. As far as this story matters, we never went on another date. That was it. And so the trilogy ends there. And here, let me look to the comments. Can you all hear my dog going crazy outside? I hope you cannot. Um So I'm like, "Isn't we should do this again, the generic sign off?" I think it is. Yeah, it pretty much is. Did you actually talk about the book? We did. And here was a part that was really interesting that's in the story that I haven't talked about on a live is I don't want to talk too much about the book because I don't want the person to be identifiable. But the main character in um, the book just takes place over a short period of time and they're on I guess, a hero or an anti-hero's journey. Um, but the surrounding characters around the protagonist were really big presence, like, very evident drivers. You kind of understood their motivation. And the protagonist himself, I was like the book ended and I was like, did he have a good life, a bad life? Who was he? He felt like a void. And so I asked him about it and he was like, that was intentional. The reader's supposed to come in with their own read on the protagonist, and he is kind of being acted upon by these others, and I was like, "Damn, I got it!" Like, that felt really good. He still didn't want me, you guys, but we did talk a lot about the book, and I talked to him about writing. I was just starting, like, 6 months into 8 months and maybe to my writing journey, and I was like, "I need other writers," and we talked about the fact that we both had these big professional day jobs and we're also writing. And I was like, I don't have many peers like this. I would really like to know you. We did have some good conversations, I think. It's blurry now because it was a long time ago, but talking about the book was part of it. I like what you said about his protagonist in the book being who he was. Yeah. So I think, thank you for reminding me of that, Joan. The sense of this void who people are acting upon and around, but it's really hard to read the protagonist. That's what he felt like to me on the date. So, um, Tarek says, it's interesting how our minds work when on a date. I've been on some where flags jump out and you're conscious of the fact that you're on a date. At other times, you're so lost in the moment, you can't stop talking and laughing and time flies and you barely realize you're on a date. Yeah, those are good dates. those are the ones where you're like, "Yep, let's do this again." That's a good feeling. Um, so that was date number 3. I'm doing a time check. Okay, we're good. Um, so the meta themes across these: chemistry versus consistency, projection versus presence. I have a list here. Sorry, I keep looking. Being chosen versus performing to be chosen, spark versus stability, and activation versus alignment, right? And how early dating reveals how you act under uncertainty. And increasingly, my theory is the more dates one goes on, with most things, practice makes perfect. With dating, I think practice can make, um, so to say, trauma. That's a little heavy, but um, the, it's an exception to the rule of usually when you practice things a lot, you get better at them. With dating, I think in a way you can get worse because it's demoralizing, and then you take that with you, right? And um, that's part of the energy that's here, maybe. Excuse me, of yeah, these the pattern across these 3. I go from numb to cold to overstimulated, and it's not random. It's my nervous system protecting me in a way. Um, and with all 3, there was a sense of like there could be a spark. You could be somebody I could be with, except you're not. For whatever reason, I don't know the reasons for all of them. In another reality, they were all men who I could have seen myself dating, but that wasn't where either we were at the time or just would have been they didn't feel the same way about me. I will never know unless one of them contacts me after this live, because like I said, 2 of the 3 of them I still know in a social media way, which is very strange. So, I see you guys are putting some comments in here. Tarek says that said, I quit dating since October because, oh my God, the rejection sucks. LOL. You'll like my second essay next week, Tarek. I'll just say that. Joan, you put so much pressure on yourself. Just have fun. Yeah, they're not fun for me. Early dating is not fun for me. I wish it were. Um, it's not really. The individual night can be fun, but the aggregate of it all is not fun, and I'd be lying to myself to say that it's fun to like, "Oh, let's just see how this goes." Like, I'm not chill. I wish I were sometimes, but I'm not. And so it's kind of miserable for me. So the keeper dynamic is what I've been spending a lot of time thinking about, and this essay, I think, shines a light by, showing the opposite, right? Of like, um, the keeper dynamic is someone who makes you feel really steady. Ideally, someone who sparks off all of these romantic sexual feelings, but also who meets you there so that it's steadying. Because if one person is up here sparking and the other one isn't, this person's going to come down and crash, right? Either on them or away from them. I didn't mean this to be literal. But if you're both feeling it and you can elevate together, you're meeting each other, and then there's like a solid base. I don't know if this is the best metaphor here, but I think there is truth to it. And can I mute myself on here? Can't. I need to yell at my dog. I don't know if you can hear her, but she's being one. Okay, hopefully that did the trick. I left the back door open and she's just barking like crazy, and I don't want my neighbors getting freaked out. So, um, Nikki, let me see here. Nikki asks, "Are you looking for a keeper?" Yes, of course. Yes, I am. Um, Thank you for asking. So let me come back to my notes here. The part about pursuit is really interesting to me too, as a woman, as an assertive woman who knows what she wants. and who is accustomed in life to pursuing the things that I want in my life, um, excuse me, I'm not really comfortable in pursuing and dating was an unconscious takeaway from all of this. Because as much as I hate to say it, I, I don't, I don't know that I've ever had a successful relationship that came out of me being the first pursuer. Um, I think there is still that old school dynamic that the dude has to pursue, and maybe that's me. I'm sure there are loads of examples out there of women coming forward in heterosexual relationships and pursuing and it working out great. But I am really hyper aware now of how I show up when first and newly dating someone, and that even if I want to run forward, that I'm like, you need to let them come to you. It's a dance, right? Um, just in the early stages. Once we're like in some form of relationship, I have to be able to come forward. Otherwise, that's not the right guy for me. But I do think there is something about the dance steps at the beginning, and like the man coming forward is something that puts my nervous system at ease, or at least we need to be equals. Like me just being like, "Hey, you want to do this?" Like that was a bit over my skis. So, um, hold on a second. I see there's another comment. Let's come over here. Um, that is true. If you click, then it's easier. Is the thought of empty nest getting to me? I would reframe the question. I have always wanted a partner, so I am happier when I have one, and that will probably be an essay one day about how, as feminists, we're told like, "You don't need a man," and I'm like, "I know I don't need a man." My marriage ended late 2011, early 2012. And I've had boyfriends, but I've never had a partner since then. And I have kept a home up on my own. I've done all the things, right? I don't need it, but I want it. And so I would say it's completely fine to acknowledge that this is something that I want going through time. And yes, I'm aware that my firstborn is leaving for college soon, and my secondborn will follow her probably in a couple of years. So I'm about to enter a stage in life where everything will shift, and, it would sure be nice to have a partner along the way to go into that phase. But this isn't like a new wish. It has always been my wish. Linnea says, all my relationships started with me doing the pursuing. Look at you go, Linnea. I apparently don't give off dateable energy, so my telling them is the only way they know. Okay, well, I love that. I'm assuming they reciprocated pretty quickly, or they were like, fuck yeah, when you came forward. So that's great. John, French proverb, a man chases a woman until she catches him. Ooh, I like that. Okay. We're getting close to the top of the hour, and I want to make sure I leave time to spill the tea. Hold on. My tea is getting cold. I'm going to try to pour this to heat it. I'm going to take a sip, and then I'm going to spill all the good tea. That is too cold. Okay, so date number one, Ace, the very handsome guy without chemistry who uh, all three, I never went out with them again, so I'll know that. But I did hear from him. We did stay in touch through Messenger. We would write back and forth. The closest he ever came to asking me out again was, hey, I just ate an edible and I'm about to turn on some Netflix. Do you want to come over? So I got Netflixed and chilled, you guys. I didn't go, but I got offered, and I was like, "Sir, no, no, thank you." We also, I did write him a little bit about like, I don't remember how we got in the conversation, but sort of like, where are you in terms of relationship? And he said something about like how it was the first time I had heard the term relationship anarchist, but it's certainly not the last. He's a relationship anarchist, which means he's like solo poly, because his life is really busy, you guys. He works and he parents. And so it's just easy. It just, with his limited time he has, it just makes more sense to be a relationship anarchist. And I was like, because of your limited time, you're better off dating multiple people. Got it. That doesn't make any sense. just, sir, this is a Wendy's. Exactly. I was like, relationship anarchist? Oh, go fuck yourself with that. Although I do actually like that term because it's exact. There's truth to it. You're just like, I do whatever the fuck I want, whenever the fuck I want to. Good for being direct about it. I hate the term solo poly because the words are antithetical. Like polyamorous means many loves, so you are not solo. You have many loves. What they mean by it is just they're fucking around. And I don't like seeing I have no problem with people who want to be poly and who are ethical about it because that's who they are and how they want to live their lives. And it's not for me, but okay. But I do feel like straight white men will take any excuse to fuck around and like try to recoin it and elevate it in a way that you're like, my dude, you're just fucking around, playing the field, whatever old school term you want to use. That's all that this is. So he was not serious, right? There was no hope for him. So that was good. Day 2, this is really interesting. So we called him Hank. I called him Hank in the story. And mentioned in the story, but not in detail, is, and I don't, oh, I figured this out when he told me what his job was. One of my dear friends, who I know because our daughters are friends, like one of my mom friends, her husband worked with him. And so I figured that out before the date, and I mentioned it, that I was like, I know everybody, you guys, like, we're all one. Like, Seattle is like a big city that's 100 people, and I am, it will shock none of you, very relational. So I told him that, and he was amused. And what's funny is that the friend we have in common, their dog is named Hank. That's what I named him. Didn't get the dog till way later, but here retelling the story now, I'm like, oh, that's funny that we picked the same name. Anyhow, through this mutual friend, I found out that I never heard from him. I wrote him and sort of did a like, thanks for a lovely night. And he was like, oh, yeah, it was great. And then I never heard from him. I wrote the story pretty quickly. I probably published it like 10 days or 2 weeks after the date. And according to the mutual friend, she was like, oh, well, he saw the story you wrote and he was kind of appalled, Dana. And he told me he was thinking about asking you out again, but absolutely not now because you wrote about him. And I was like, that is completely fucking not true. Like, who the hell waits over a week after a first date, no contact at all, to then be like, I was totally going to ask you out again, but you wrote about me. Like, if you go dark on me, I will write about the experience without asking you. If I know you, I won't. But like, he excused himself from my life. And so silence is an answer. Like, I just thought it was so funny that, and she seemed a little like, are you going to be upset about this when I tell you that? And I was like, yeah, of course I'm not. Like, um, anyways, I thought that that was a very funny ending of like, oh, I see. If I hadn't written about what a cold dud you were going to ask me out again. Okay, cool. The third date, um, I mentioned in the the public live that I did earlier this week that I did hear from him. We kept in touch, and that we were like planning to go to a show. He was like, "Do you want to?" We were like looking at concerts, and we agreed on this Silver Sun pickup show. And then he just dropped off mid text, stopped writing me, and I was like, "Okay, I guess we're not going to this show." I did end up one final time messaging him, which my pride shouldn't have let me do, but I did. And I don't remember what I wrote, and I couldn't find the text to verify, but it was something like, I think you're a really cool person, and I would really like to know you. And also, I think you're a very attractive person, and I would like to date you. But either way, I would like to still have you in my life. And I don't remember if he wrote back to it or not. Isn't that weird how time can make things fade? But for all intents and purposes, he didn't write back. If he wrote back, he did a like, yeah, and then nothing happened. So um, silence was an answer. But I do have one really good follow-up. Hang on, I've got to open this essay. And hold on, I need to mute again and just call for my dog. Here she comes. She was barking like a lunatic, and then she went silent, and I got nervous. Here you go. I know this is like your fourth stick in an hour. So here's the like sweet update. So um, I recently went on a first date with someone who I'm still dating, and before the date, when we were texting, it was his first date in a very long time, and he wrote to me, dating should be fun and silly and energizing and flirtatious and affirming and sexy and arousing and giddy, especially first dates. Dates shouldn't feel like work. They should feel just right. He texted that to me, and I was like, I recognize those words. And it took a minute for me to find them. It's the end of this essay, the third essay. He quoted me to me. That's keeper energy, right? Like, so um, if there's any happy ending on these essays, I'm going to leave you with that one. That's my happy tea. Not all tea is, you know, scalding and miserable. That was happy tea. So that is those are all the topics I had for the Sunday Salon. I'm going to read your comments here and see if there's anything here. Let me see. Dodged a bullet there. What does demisexual mean? This is an essay I have that I'm going to share not next week, but soon, I think, in the I Write Out Loud annals. I'm going to reshare it. Yes, Tarek says demisexual means you need to feel a romantic connection before getting physically intimate. Um, yeah, there needs to be like an emotional and intellectual connection. The essay I wrote was called I'm paraphrasing, Why I Don't Call Myself Demisexual Even Though I Could. Um, and I have done a lot of thinking on this topic, and don't I think it's even more true now, and I have this continuum of dating and sexuality and how it works for me that kind of explains who I am better than just the term demisexual. But if you toss that word out about me, I wouldn't be mad about it. It's that idea that I'm describing in this essay of like, I don't just look at people and see sort of meat sack and be like, I want to fuck that guy. There has to be a connection there beyond that. I don't think that's unusual though. I think that the idea that we're pathologizing, it's not quite, we're labeling that as something that's a sexuality type that lives in the asexual spectrum is wrong. I am miles from asexual. I think simply put, it just means my definition of it, which we'll come back to that, is that it simply means that sex is important and that it happens in the context of like knowing someone at a deeper level. There are people who identify as demisexual who would yell at me about this and be like, you don't understand, it's a real sexuality and we get punished for it. And to me, it's just part of normal response to onboarding a new relationship. What I am. So Tarek says, I'm Demi. Yes. Joan says, I'm a boomer who asks her Gen X friend for info. Always here to help, Joan. You're saying number 2 is slow and cold. I guess he is that way on follow up as well. True. But what I come to in that essay too, Linnea, is that like I'm not like that. That's probably not someone who's a good fit for me. Um, that and also like I don't think either of us was super interested in the other. Like at least one person has to feel some sort of reason to move to date 2. And I tried. I reached out, and he just sort of had a lukewarm at best response and no follow through. So I asked for the first date. I wasn't going to ask for a second date for any of these guys. Well, actually, I guess I did with date number 3, but I should have known better. If you have to push that hard, it's never going to happen. I was hoping you'd end on a happy note. Story evolving, but yes, it's a happy note in terms of this live. And it's such a weird meta thing to be dating someone who you know is reading your writing and watching your lives, because it makes me aware that as a narrator, I'm also narrating in the present. I don't. It's really nice to have someone who pays attention, though. So keep her energy. Jason says, say biosexual here. Of course, brains are sexy. You will get yelled at by a lot of people if you use that term online, though, because people are all like, "Well, it's just ableist and it's just pretentious." But safe space here. Only the smarties get through. And Linnea says demisexual used to be the norm, at least for women. Maybe that's what it is, Linnea, is that as a Gen X woman, I'm like, oh, so you want to have an emotional and intellectual attachment and feel like there's some sort of sense of security before you take all your clothes off with somebody and get like literally naked and vulnerable with them. It's just normal to me. And I think it's strange that it's not a norm. So I'm with you. If your current guy can handle you talking about him on these lives, he is a keeper. we'll, we'll see. Um, but if he's listening, hi. Um, I don't talk about him too much, but I did want to put that little addendum on because I remembered it as I was reviewing the essay and was like, oh boy, that meant a lot. That was really something. So, um, programming notes, unless if you have more questions or comments, please weigh in. But programming notes, I think a lot of you may have seen the post I made yesterday. It is my revised schedule for I Write Out Loud. And it came for two reasons. One was the 5-day-a-week thing was for the first month, which tomorrow will be 1 month since the first post. It worked well. It's not sustainable forever to put up 5 stories a week and 5 lives a week. But more importantly, what I learned in those first couple of weeks is like, these are deep, big stories. And I feel like I'm jumping from one to the other really quickly. And I want to have the space to talk about them. Both in the comment section, in the lives, in the salon, but also in notes that I'm writing across Substack. I'm going to start posting them more on other channels. These stories need air, and also, like, I can't expect my readers to keep up with 5 essays a week every week. That's just, it's too much. So, um, I have slowed it down, but in a very intentional way to give these stories room to breathe. And I'm also I'm going to post the story, and then the next day I'm going to do the live. So I'm going to give it a little more time to cook before going live straight away. And then there will be this Sunday salon every week. So excuse me. The schedule now will be new essays every Tuesday and every Friday morning. The lives will be Wednesday and Saturdays. The Wednesday one is going to be a little later in the day, and the Saturday one earlier in the day, just because of my life schedule. And then the Sunday one will always be at 1 p.m. Eastern. The times are all listed, but the essays go live at 8:08 a.m. Eastern time. The live, I think I have Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Let me just check because I was debating between 7 and 8. Either time could work for me, so I'm not sure which one I ultimately picked. That's kind of funny. Let me go find the article, and I'll put the link in the chat too since I'm finding it. And then the Saturday morning live will be at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. here. And I will say part of that is here's something I have not revealed, but I'll say because it's a small live. I'm on a short term leave from my day job right now, which is why I've had so much time to commit to this, as I won't get into what all of that means, but I will eventually go back and in not too long. So I want to make sure I'm setting something up that's sustainable for my life, because as much as I would love to do this full time, um, it's not really where my life or finances is right now. But each of you are making it a little more possible that one day I will wake up and this will be my full-time work. Wouldn't that be the dream? I have been super busy on Substack, and this is why. So this is the new rhythm, the rhythm of how I write out loud. And yes, the public lives Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern and Saturdays noon Eastern, and then the Sunday salon 1 p.m. Eastern. So my schedule will be knowable. I will post about it. The other thing to tell you is I crossed 100 paid subscribers for just me. Dana Dubois writes, I Write Out Loud. I'm so happy. I have earned a little check mark on my own. And I had promised once I crossed that threshold that I would do another red flag roundup. I don't know how many of you saw those. I posted them in like November, December last year, where I take a response I have gotten from an online suitor and I do some rhetorical analysis. A lot of the ideas of the burnt haystack dating method are in there. They are my most popular videos by miles, more than any of the stories that I've written. I think I'm going to bake one red flag roundup in a month. So one of the Friday stories each month will be a rhetorical analysis essay, and then I'm going to go live, talk about it. And then in that salon the following week, I'm going to dive in and do more of them with all of you because they are pretty fun. And also, if any of you are online dating or just getting texts from people who you're dating and you would like a rhetorical analysis done in a Sunday salon, I am happy to do that and offer my services because I'd like to think I've earned some wisdom here. So I'm going to do a bonus one that will be, I think I'm going to do it tomorrow on Monday. I need to go schedule it. I haven't picked a time yet, but probably let's oh wait, my dog's getting groomed tomorrow. I'll post it. I'm not sure what the time will be tomorrow. Kira's getting groomed and then I have a doctor's appointment and blah, 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 figuring all that out. So at some point this week though, there will be a red flag roundup. It will be a public live. I have such a good one to share with you. I've been holding on to these. I've got like a whole folder on my phone of like, yep. That dude is problematic, but this was by far and away the most problematic one. So I would love for you all to be here. And to be clear, I'm not just picking on like ugly or, un- men who are trying and failing, because they're being uninteresting. These are things that are problematic and a little more subtle that women need to look out for. Those are the tricky ones, right? So it should be fun. It will be on I Write Out Loud. You'll see the alerts, and I will also post a note about it once I look to my calendar and figure out when I could be here to do it. So thank you all so much for being here. This was a very long Sunday salon, but it was so fun. You guys are the best. And I wish you a great week. We'll see you, Lawrence and I will see you for the Daily Whatever show this week too. I just posted the calendar this week. Actually, before we go, let me read our schedule of guests because they're so good. Every week I'm like, oh my God, this is so good. And then I feel like the next week I'm like, it's even better. But this is a really good week. Mondays, those are now Lawrence's day, with Not Straightforward, his show. And he has his co-host Aidan Wharton and Ben Green on. And I believe they are going to be talking about like good news in queer spaces. So we could all use some of that these days. On Tuesday the 3rd, we have Wisconsin gubernatorial candidate Francesca Hong joining us. I saw her on with Walter Ryan, and she is a brainy spitfire, y'all. She's going to be great. Anything we can do to help the right kinds of Democrats get elected, I'm here for it. March 4th on Wednesday, we have Dr. G as your weirdo friend coming back. Some of you may have seen that Friday they joined us very quickly at the start of our live because they got booted off Substack. They have some theories about why. It looks like they're now back with their new handle. They lost their old one, but we're going to be touching in on the state of Substack, the state of the world, and censorship and all of those ideas. Thursdays are now my show, Fine Feminist Hour. Lawrence gives me the stage on Thursdays, and I am welcoming author Christy Coulter. I don't know if you all have read Exit Interview, the book that she was like a memoir of her time at Amazon. I don't know if it was a New York Times bestseller, but it was close. If not, it was definitely got press in the New York Times and in the New Yorker. Christy is remarkable, and I have been trying to get her on for months. So I've got her joining me for Fine Feminist Hour. And then we're wrapping up the week on Fucked Up Friday with the Opinionated Ogre, one of our very favorite friends and guests. He will be joining us to give his very surly, very biting, very brainy take on the week's news. So that's the Daily Whatever show this week. I will also be live with Egberto Willies on his show on Thursday of this week. I think at noon's. Wait, I'm doing the math in my head. Hang on, I've got to. Well, I'll put it in a note, but it's I believe it's at 9, it's 9 or 10 a.m. my time, so it's noon or 1 p.m. Eastern. I need to go look. So, really exciting week. I have 2 stories dropping. They will finish this dating narrative arc. And there is a very hard essay posting on Tuesday, and then a very happy one posting on Friday. And then this arc that is called Reentry, dating reentry, will be closed. I should go in and tag the essays with these arcs. After that, I'm not sure what the theme will be. I'm trying to decide. So I might ask the chat for some ideas. Like I'll give some suggestions and see if we can get some ideas going. So, hi, Ted. Nice to see you. I didn't say hi to you before. Thank you guys all so much for joining me. This has been wonderful. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend. And I will see you this week. Love you, mean it. Bye.